Hello people, David here and welcome to Btekt. And today I've got a comparison for you between the iPhone XR and the Google Pixel 3. Now I haven't had these phones long enough to give you a full review yet, so I'm just going to compare, for now at least, the screen, the camera and the sound. Now before we start, I want to say that I appreciate all the comments that I get, good ones and bad ones, because I do take them on board. Come and see me in the comment section and help me to keep improving Btekt. And if you haven't done already, it'd be great if you could hit the subscribe button, double tap notifications and smash the like button. Now let's get down to it. Both of these phones cost about £750, and as usual, let me start with the design. Both are glass sandwiches with aluminium frames, Gorilla Glass 5 on the Google Pixel 3, and Apple's own tough and scratch resistant glass protecting the XR. The Pixel 3 comes in 3 colours, just black, clearly white and not pink, and 2 sizes, but it is essentially the same phone, minus the notch screen and the slightly smaller battery. It has this soft touch glass on the back. I think it's a nice design cue, and while it doesn't really provide any grip, it does make it less slippery than the iPhone, which is really slippery by the way. I have noticed that it can get a bit dirty and it doesn't wipe clean as easily as normal glass. The fingerprint scanner is kind of camouflaged on the back to try to keep in line with that very clean and minimalistic aesthetic, and I found it to be extremely fast and reliable. There's no fingerprint scanner on the back of the iPhone. Unlocking the phone is done only with Apple's 3D Face Unlock system, and that's actually something that I prefer. I don't necessarily want to be reaching around the back of my phone all the time. I prefer when all the controls of the phone are on the front, and the Face ID on the XR is just as fast and reliable as you'd expect. On the iPhone, the glass blends nicely into the anodized aluminium frame, and it's a fair bit thicker and it feels more well built than the Pixel, and it has got a little bit more weight to it. There's a nice selection of colours with the iPhone, and my favourite one being this blue, and overall it's a very well built and very nice looking device. But I don't like the bezels. One thing I loved about the iPhone X was that it's all screen, apart from the notch at the top. I like the fact that the screen went from the very bottom and all the way to the very top. The bezels on the XR are thick. They're probably the thickest side bezels that I've seen all year. And there's really no need for them. I mean, what's the purpose of these bezels? Why couldn't they have given us just a slightly bigger screen? It ruins that full screen experience that I really love the iPhone for. It just feels like, why did you bother with this design if you're going to put those bezels around it, you know? All the way around it does kind of add up to quite a lot of wasted space. It definitely takes away from that full screen goodness that you got from the 10, and of course the new XS and XS Max. The side bezels on the Pixel 3 are not exactly what I would call slim either, but they're at least half the size of the bezels on the XR. But the Pixel more than makes up for it with its spectacular chin and notch combo. Now let me give you my opinion about the notch. Obviously this only applies to the XL version, but with my big hands I find the smaller Pixel 3 to be a little bit too small. See, I'm not a person who hates the notch, but there's no good reason why this phone should have one. Yeah, it houses 2 excellent 8 megapixel front facing cameras and quite a large loudspeaker, but I think if they come with bezels on both sides, it would have just added to its elegance. You can hide the notch, but you have to go into the developer settings to do it. Click settings, scroll down to system, and then click about phone. Then scroll down to the build number and keep tapping on it until it says you are a developer. Once it says that, go back and then click advanced, and then you will find the developer options there. And there, finally, you can hide the notch. And once you do that, it doesn't push the notifications up into the dead space like other phones do, but at least it makes the phone look much better. So let's compare the screens. The Google Pixel 3 has a 6.3-inch OLED display with 1440 by 2960 resolution, an 18.5 by 9 aspect ratio, and a pixel density of 523 ppi. So a very high spec screen that's up there with the best of them. For the iPhone XR, we've got Apple's newly developed Liquid Retina HD display. It's a 6.1-inch LCD with 1792 by 828 resolution and a pixel density of 326 ppi. Now Apple have taken a lot of stick for this screen because it has the same pixel density as the iPhone 4 and it's not a 1080p screen. But looking at these two side by side, and I don't think it's a terrible screen. It's obviously not as good as the Pixel. The Pixel is sharper and is showing more vibrant colours and deeper blacks, but it doesn't seem too bad from the iPhone. I'd love to know what you guys think, so let me know in the comments below. Let's have a quick listen to the speakers. I'm just going to play one of my videos because I noticed that the Google Pixel has more bass It's so much bass. I don't know, maybe a little bit too much. It made me sound in my videos a little bit deep. Alright, let's just listen to that last video that I did.
100 successful matches every day worldwide. It's called Muzz Match and
Muzz Match.
If you like the vibe that we have here at Btekt, then it'd be great if you could hit the subscribe button, double click that notification bell, and smash the like button for me. Yeah, I think this one's going to be a tough call because we all know that these two.
That was the iPhone.
And straight
10R.
away, the first thing that hits me is...
Listen to this thing. Just how deep that is.
Hello people, welcome to Btekt. I'm David, and today I've got a photo and video comparison for you between two of the top phones at the moment, the Galaxy Note 9 versus the iPhone XS Max. If you like the vibe that we have here at Btekt, then it'd be great if you could hit the...
And play this one again.
Are going to have premium cameras, both dual lens systems and both 12 megapixel sensors, one wide and one telephoto.
I think the Pixel is definitely
both
louder.
Also equipped with optical image stabilization, and both can shoot crisp 4K video at...
But this is coming through a little bit clearer to me. This one's got more bass. The Pixel's definitely got more bass and it's definitely louder. But I feel that the XR is just clearer. It has more clarity to the sound. Before we go on, let me say a big thank you to Direct Mobiles. As well as looking after us here at Btekt, they have a great selection of the latest phones, seriously competitive prices, and over 23 years of award-winning customer service. If you're after a new phone, check down in the video description below for a link to their deals, or search directmobiles.co.uk. So let's talk about the cameras. 12 megapixel sensors on both. The Google Pixel is kind of known as being pretty much the best smartphone camera around at the moment. But the iPhone has always had good pictures, and we know that it's got a good camera because it's the same sensor that's in the new XS and XS Max. But being out and about and taking pictures with it, I think that the Google Pixel does have the edge, especially for things like portraits. The XR having one less lens than the XS means that the portrait mode is slightly compromised, meaning that it will only take a portrait shot when it recognizes that a person is in the frame. So you can't take portrait shots of even, say, my cat, which I tried to do here. But compare that to the Google Pixel and you get great portrait shots with pretty much whatever you take a picture of. These are definitely the best portrait shots that I've seen on a phone so far, regardless of how many lenses it's got. The only downside to it being that you don't have a zoom lens, so you have to use the digital zoom. And it's okay, it's a good digital zoom, but it's still a digital zoom, which will never compare to an optical zoom. Although it's very impressive what Google have done with one lens, I wish they'd have just put two in, so I could have a telephoto lens and a wide angle. Instead, they put two lenses on the front. I love an ultra wide angle lens, but it's much better for landscapes rather than for portraits. The perspective just makes people look weird, so I wish they put that second lens on the back. Having said that though, you get some very cool and some very dramatic looking shots with that selfie camera. You just have to be a little bit creative. And there is a portrait style lens in that front camera as well. The selfie camera on the iPhone is very good and will shoot 1080p video at 60 frames per second. And in this quite challenging lighting environment, with the sun streaming through the window, I think I prefer the iPhone, even though it seems to be doing more of that skin smoothing thing. It seems to have more dynamic range, with the Pixel really blowing out those highlights. With the rear cameras, the Pixel's max quality is 4K 30 frames per second, and the iPhone can shoot 4K at 60 frames per second, and keep that footage stabilized, which is something that not many phones can do. And looking at these pictures, this is the first time that the iPhone seems to have a little bit more contrast than the Pixel. Definitely prefer the iPhone for video. Anything that can shoot 4K at 60 frames per second and keep it nice and smooth at the same time gets my vote. Anyway, I hope you liked my little video. I'm trying something different, show you a little bit of my personality. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe, double click the notification bell, and smash that like button for me. I'm David Wildman, and this was Btekt.